Welcome to the Gathering for Change Agents. I'm Todd, and I'm delighted to be with you all today and bring along with me one of my teachers, my Kumu, Kevin John Fong. Though I've only been co-hosting since February, I hear this is the 13th year as the Gathering community.
Mhm.
We gather here the first Wednesday of every month, February through December, to help each other clarify, expand, and actualize the purposeful transformation that we are individually and collectively purposefully designed to offer, and in service to nurturing generative possibilities to co-create a world that works for one and all. As you've probably heard by now, our theme for 2024 and 2025 is the art of agility, navigating the natural rhythms of change. There is no doubt that change is in the air and that these times are not only calling for us to be agile, but to also deepen and broaden our connections. We are so much more than individuals cooperating with the forces of life-giving change. We gather to connect as much as to learn, to remember what is possible collectively. Whether you've been with us for years or on your first call, you can be here in person. Thank you for those attending, or listen to a recording. Welcome, one and all. If you are new to the gathering calls, we have recorded all of these. Yes, 12 years worth is in the extensive collection of speaker audios. Once you sign up, the link is in each email. You can go back and spend an entire weekend, 2 or 3, listening to past gatherings. Today's topic is on the 5 elements, an East Asian approach to navigating change.
Mm.
When we witness balance and harmony in nature, we often have difficulty describing why. Everything just feels right. That's because we have the innate ability to sense balance and imbalance. This ability can be trained and sharpened. The 5 elements is an East Asian framework that trains you to see the world and yourself in its fundamental components: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. The key concept of this 4,500-year-old practice lies in understanding how each element can support, for example, wood fuels fire, or restrain, like metal chops wood. The other, and determining how the balance between the elements can be foster generative responses to any situation. For over 25 years, Kevin John Fong has brought the 5 elements to communities and organizations as they strive to navigate change. Kevin is an internationally recognized cultural translator, facilitator, and speaker in transformative justice. His experience in both the corporate and nonprofit sectors has informed this practice. A third-generation Asian Pacific American, Kevin's work is built upon East Asian and Native Hawaiian principles and philosophies. In 2023, Kevin published his book, The 5 Elements, an East Asian Approach to Achieve Organizational Health, Professional Growth, and Personal Well-Being. Kevin has brought the 5 elements to hundreds of organizations and thousands of people from Silicon Valley to rural Mississippi, from primary schools in New Mexico to the White House. Welcome, Kevin. Okay, so here's what we're up to today. Andy is going to facilitate a brief fire lighting ceremony to open the space and connect with each other and our theme, as we traditionally do. Next, Kevin will walk us through some of his own background and perspectives and bring us into the world of the 5 elements. Then we will do an activity called Where Do You Stand, allowing each of you to individually assess where you and your community may be within the cycles of the 5 elements. And then finally, we'll close the call with a fire dowsing and an invitation to our optional Come As You Are after party. Andy, will you open the space for our time together by leading our tradition of lighting our virtual campfire?
Yes, thank you, Todd. I invite you to close your eyes and let's come together around our imaginal fire pit in the center of our gathering. And close your eyes if you choose and if it's safe to do so. take a few presencing breaths. Each month, we have a tradition of inviting a mythical or historical figure to light our virtual fire in the center of our gathering, someone who has something important to reveal in the context of our topic. Take a moment now to look around our circle a bit with your imaginal eyes and welcome each other. People from around the globe, change agents with a passion for creating purposeful transformation in the world. As we sit quietly together, you notice a subtle shift in the atmosphere. A gentle presence fills the space, carrying with it the scent of ocean air, mountain rain, and ripening mangoes. A woman appears, dressed simply but colorfully, with unmistakable dignity. This is Auntie Puanani Burgess, who lived from 1947 to 2024, the beloved Hawaiian poet, community builder, facilitator, and peacemaker whose life work was dedicated to building the beloved community. Born Christabel Yoshi Puanani to a Japanese father and Hawaiian mother in Hawaii, she chose her Hawaiian named Puanani, beautiful flower, as her path of identity and power. A fierce advocate for Waianae community on Oahu, Auntie Pua began her journey as a law student in the late 1970s, but left formal studies when her spirit called her to community activism. She became a pivotal figure in the Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana movement to reclaim the island from U.S. Navy bombing practice, part of the Hawaiian cultural renaissance that transformed the islands. For more than 4 decades, she developed profound methods of bringing people together across divides. Her guts on the table process invited people to share three essential stories: the story of their names, the story of their community, and the story of their gifts. She understood that through authentic storytelling, people could see the humanity in each other before attempting to solve problems together. As Auntie Pua looks at each of us, her gaze holds both warmth and unflinching clarity. She speaks in a voice that carries the rhythms of her poetry. I have come to light this fire not as an expert, but as a student of the Na'au, the deep gut wisdom that lives within each of us. As you explore navigating change with Kevin, John, Fong, and the Five Elements approach, remember that all wisdom traditions point to the same truth, that change begins with honest self-awareness and deep listening. She kneels at the center of our circle and continues. In my life's work, I learned that transformation begins when we understand our gifts and share them generously. I discovered that when we truly listen to each other's stories of our names, our communities, and our gifts, we create the foundation for genuine change. From her hands emerges not a dramatic flame, but a steady glow that grows organically, like the quiet, persistent work of community building. I learned from a young fisherman who could call the fish that our gifts often lie where society sees no value. I learned from women in prison that finding your gift is the foundation for rebuilding a life. And I learned from my own journey that change happens not through force, but through honoring what each person brings to the community. The fire now burns with a steady, inviting warmth that seems to pulse with the rhythm of breath. He alo a he alo, Puanani says. Auntie Puanani says, face to face. That's how you learn what makes us weep, what makes us bleed, what makes us feel. In navigating change, we must come face to face with ourselves and each other, recognizing our shared humanity. With a final gesture, she places something in the fire that causes it to momentarily flare with all the colors of the Hawaiian Islands, the deep blue of ocean, the vibrant green of valleys, the red of volcanic earth. The fire now burns steadily, casting a warm glow that seems to dance with possibility. A visual reminder that transformation comes through honoring each person's unique gifts and creating space for them to shine. Open your eyes and return to your physical space. Welcome back. Over to you, Kevin.
Mhm. Mahalo nui, Andy and Todd, and aloha mai kako. Good afternoon to you all. Good day to you all. My name is Kevin Kahakula Akea John Fong. You can call me Kevin to keep it simple. My pronouns are he, they, and oia. And I'm so honored and privileged to be here in your presence to know that you're my peeps. We are doing what we can to build bridges and create a world that works for everyone. And I've been taught that by my elders, and I'm so thankful to bring the teachings of my heritage to you folks and to see, sort of what works, what fits, and have a conversation. So let's move forward here. I'd like, first of all, I hope technology will work.
Warming up the hands.
Here we go. All right, Susan, I see you. Can you see a slide deck?
I do.
Oh, how lovely. Okay, now I have to go to the right. There we go.
And you're
Okay.
changing the slides, right?
Yes, I
Or
am.
somebody is.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
You will discover that Kevin has many gifts. Technology isn't one of them. So if this works, it's going to be thanks to Auntie Pua and the help of many guides and elders from many planes. I just wanted to introduce you formally to Auntie Pua. This is who she is. Taken at the Flamingo Cafe in Waianae, Hawaii. The colors were working, and I just said, "Look that way," and I snapped this photo, and it became her official portrait. Susan, I see you. And so if we were to go visit Auntie Pua in her community of Waianae, Hawaii, we would drive due west on H1 from the airport until the road ended, because that's where the island ends and there's nowhere else to go. We turn right and go to the back of the Lualuale Valley to Pu'uhulu Street, where her husband's homestead is, the Burgess family. And she, toward the end of her life, she passed, became an ancestor 6 months ago. Her body was weak, but her spirit and her intellect were strong, and so she'd likely be sitting under her mango trees. And I'd come up and introduce you, and Pua would ask you 3 questions, and we're going to take a moment just to acknowledge those. I first wanted to share a couple other pictures. This is Pua in 1982 as a young activist. So I wanted to show that image of her during her activism work with Protect Kaho'olawe. I'll send you a link to find out more. And one of the favorite things we loved to do was go to obscure movies. One of her favorites was The Cave of Forgotten Dreams by Werner Herzog. And we saw it in 3D, and we'd eat. And so go to Zippy's and Kapolei, look at the number of plates here. It was just the two of us. So
No.
like to know we did love to eat, and we'd sit there for hours and just keep ordering. Susan, I see you. So if I were to take you to visit Auntie Pua, she would ask you 3 questions. Aloha kako, my darling. Welcome to my home. I need 3 questions. I have 3 questions of you. What is the story of your name? All of your names, because that tells me who you are. What is the story of your community, however you define it, because that tells me who you belong to, whose you are. And third, what is your kuleana? What is your gift? Ku means to stand in Hawaiian, ana means space. So literally, kuleana combined means how do you stand in space, right? What are you
Mm.
bringing? What is your unique contribution? So for me, my name, Kevin Kahakula Akea John Fong. My Chinese name is Kwang Shi Tang. I am called child. I'm the child of Bob and Mary, the spouse of Greg, the parent of Raphael and Santiago, the friend of many, a favorite uncle, a teacher, a mentor, a student. My community, I will say, where I'm zooming in from, which is the land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, my living room in the Mission District, San Francisco. And my gift, my kuleana, is that I am unapologetic and unafraid to bring ceremony wherever I go. So wherever I land, be it in a corporate boardroom or a elementary school or a family gathering or something like this, I will bring ceremony. That is my gift, and that is what I bring. So I'd like you all, and whether you're watching this or you're live with me, to take 60 seconds. And for those of you here, just drop in the chat your name, as many of your names as you can, even your hidden names, as I shared, the place you call home, your community, and what is your kuleana? What is your unique gift and contribution? I'll give you a moment to do that. Thank you, Todd. I see you. Susan, see you there. Name, place you call home. I'm just going to lift up Todd, for example, Todd Allen Hoskins. His name means fox and protector among the bulrushes. His community is and home is is in Santa Cruz, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And Todd's gift is a change navigator. I love focusing on gifts. Susan, curiosity, light, and joy is what Susan brings. Think about 12 more seconds and just drop this in for all of you considering that. This notion of kuleana, your gift, where you stand and how you stand in space, was very important to Antipua, because in our standard culture, we always introduce ourselves by hello, hello. And the next question is, so what do you do? And our entire value and identity is based upon our vocation, our title, how many degrees we have, and what our accomplishments have been. Antipua has turned it on its side and says, what is your gift? Because whether you're 4 or 94, you have a gift. Whether you went to school or not, you have a gift. Whether you have a title in a fancy office or you're a janitor that cleans that office at night and nobody sees you, you have a gift. So let's start with that. And that's the basis upon which we do our work in the 5 elements. In addition to Antipua, I just want to take a moment and acknowledge my teachers, mentors, and elders, some of whom are listed here. It is upon their shoulders that I stand, and it is the reason why I am here. They have charged me to bring this lineage, this teaching forward into the 21st century, which took me a little while, but I did it, and I'm really proud, and I hope they are proud of me as well. One of my teachers is Professor John Powell at the Othering and Belonging Institute at UC Berkeley. I'm going to ask, Andy, can you please read this piece of wisdom from John?
Our collective well-being depends on our ability to embrace and uplift one another. It is when we come together to bridge our differences that we create a society that truly thrives.
Thank you. Thank you. So John was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, an attorney, philosopher, and the founder of the Othering and Belonging Institute based at UC Berkeley. I am just blessed to be one of his students and mentees. I want to share a quick version of how John sees this notion of navigating change. So, of course, changes are constant. That is what we are guaranteed in life. And with change comes an increase in anxiety. We know that happens, and it could be good change or it could be a tough change. Good change. We got a new puppy, right? Or we're moving to our dream community. That is a change, and it brings about anxiety, both individually and collectively, manifesting as distress on a more negative, shadowy side, or eustress, more on a positive side. An example of eustress is I don't work out, I don't go to the gym, but I hear that when people go to the gym and they take a run, they feel better. And that's that sense of eustress, right? And so, but anxiety is the result of change. When that happens, people turn to the leadership for the meta narrative. And we're seeing that happen all the time. We open our little devices and see a headline, another this, another that, an executive order, an act of violence in the world or in our community. What are we going to do and how are we going to respond to that? And leaders have two choices. They can choose the path of breaking, which leads to fear and othering. It's those people's fault, right? If they weren't part of our community, so then we need to get rid of all of them. They demonize, they other, and they create a us them situation. The other path, which is less trod, is the path of bridging, which leads to compassion and belonging. We are taught breaking, and we see breaking all the time, right? In our schools, in our places of worship, in our workplaces, in our communities. It's seen in conventional media and social media. It results in fight, flight, and freeze. That's a breaking mentality, right? Bridging is something that is not taught in our schools that we don't know. And that's something that we have to actively pursue no matter how old or how young we are. And I am trusting that you are here in this circle, this gathering, because you are interested in the pathway of bridging. So our big questions are, how can we support each other in being bridge builders in this moment in time? And how can we create and sustain a world where everyone can thrive? So no matter who we go into, Todd and I, or how we approach a community or a client, these are the key questions that we are moving in with. One of the approaches that we use is the 5 elements. And I'm going to run through a quick explanation of the elements, and then Todd is going to lead us through an application of it. One of the things about the 5 elements, it takes just a few minutes and you can pick it up. And so let's see how we roll with this one. I'm going to start first with my origin story of the 5 elements, and that's with my grandmother. This is my maternal grandmother who owned a grocery store. You can tell, I think in at least in my culture, we always have 2 types of grandmothers, the cool grandmother and then the strict grandmother. You can tell that this grandmother was the cool grandmother with her little black dress, and she drove a 1967 what was it? It was like what car was that, Todd? It was like a Challenger or something like that. This big muscle car, and I loved it when she took me to school because I looked cool. That's me at about 7 years old, and my grandmother didn't have a day of formal education in her life, but she knew the 5 elements, and she worked the 5 elements to care for and heal her family. I grew up in Sacramento, California, and every day my grandmother made soup. So at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she would call her family and say, please stop by and pick up your soup. It's ready for you. And in Sacramento in July, it gets to 100 plus degrees, 104, 106 degrees. And we'd go, Grandma, really? Soup? And she would say, pick up your darn soup. It's good for you. And she would know exactly what soup to make. So if it's a scorching hot day, she would walk outside and say, ooh, there's too much fire in the air. It's going to be a scorcher. So my grandmother would make a soup based with water-based ingredients, something like seaweed and tofu soup or watercress soup. So even though it was a piping hot day and the soup was piping hot, it had water properties to that soup. And as soon as you took a spoonful of it, the water properties would cool down your constitution like magic. And on those cold winter days, November, December, January, when the wind was coming off the Sacramento River like knives and cutting through you, she would say, "Oh, there was actually a Chinese expression of wind knives cutting through you." And so she'd say, "Too much metal in the air." And so what I'm going to make is an earth-based soup, perhaps oxtail soup with turnips and carrots and root vegetables, something that can embrace and absorb the sharpness of the metal with earth and make us feel better. Grandma knew exactly what type of soup to make to heal ourselves. So if it was a fire-based soup, it would be hot and sour soup, right? A metal-based soup would be something with um, um, shellfish, something encased in shells. A plant-based soup or a wood-based soup would be something like, a mustard green soup, something nice and fresh and uplifting. She knew exactly what type of soup to make. Fast forward 25 years, and I'm directing a clinical AIDS program in the height of the AIDS epidemic. And I was watching my beleaguered staff just try to make it through the day because we never knew what we were going to be confronting. And I started using the 5 elements to say, what element does my team need? Do they need a little water? And literally, like, okay, everybody, have some water, right? Let's do a meditation where we can cool ourselves down using terms like, let's reflect on this topic, right? Let's anchor ourselves in our mission. Let's make sure that we can dive deep into the data and what that's saying. And so we're meeting our community needs and we're being true to that. Let's have a conversation about our strategy so I can make sure that I'm sequencing everything and everything flows into one another. If we needed to bring metal, we already have that language in our lexicon. Let's put the metal to the let's put the pedal to the metal or the nose to the grindstone. If I needed to bring fire, let's shed some light on this topic, right? Let's make sure we're seeing things eye to eye. So I started doing that. And over the course of 25 years, it turned into a book and an organizing strategy and principle that I believe we can use to build bridges. Todd, how is everybody doing? I can't see everyone.
You've got the room.
Okay, I'm glad. Yay. So there are 3 principles of the 5 elements. I'm going to run through this real quickly, and then Todd's going to set us up for a quick activity. So if you learn anything from this session, remember these 3 things. Principle 1, there are 5 elements in this tradition: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. Water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. Many cultures and traditions have 4. We have the addition of metal as the 5th. The other thing that people often ask is, air is part of my tradition, and I don't see air represented here. Well, my people are very pragmatic, and they say you cannot see the air unless it's blowing through the trees. And so all of the characteristics of air will be embedded in wood. So you'll hear me refer to wood as wind or as thunder, that movement of air. So know that air is represented and embedded in wood. So we have 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. Principle 2, the elements interact in 2 distinct formations or cycles. The first formation or cycle is a circular formation that moves in the clockwise direction, and that is called the supporting cycle. Let's start with water. Water supports wood. Wood fuels fire. Out of fire comes ash or earth. Out of earth comes minerals or metal. And finally, metal condenses to form water. I can't explain it scientifically, but there's some alchemical process. And the best way that's demonstrated between metal and water is if you place a stainless steel bowl in the freezer, you get condensation the next day. So there's some supportive relationship between metal and water. So we have water to wood to fire to earth to metal, comprising the supporting cycle. There is also the restraining cycle, and it works like this, starting again with water. Water controls fire. Fire melts or tempers metal. Metal chops wood. Wood depletes the nutrients from the earth. And then earth channels or contains water. You dig an irrigation ditch or you have a ceramic pitcher that holds water, right? So we have the supporting cycle moving in the circular clockwise direction and the restraining cycle moving in the star formation. The third principle, and I really want you to anchor this in, is that the goal of the five elements is balance. So there's no good or bad. There's no judgment to the five elements. What grandma said was, you look at where the elements are, what's in abundance and what is missing, and then you employ solutions to bring about balance. So on those hot summer days, when grandma would say there's too much fire, right? She would employ the restraining cycle and make watercress and tofu soup, right? Because that water will cool down the fire. Likewise, if the wind was coming through like knives and there was too much metal, she would just decide to make an earth-based soup so that earth would support the metal and embrace and absorb the metal, that energy, and we would have harmony. So it kind of takes some practice to determine whether you use the supporting or restraining cycle. My friend Todd has just completed a 14-month study with me, and he can now do this practice and go out and work with clients in using the five elements, and really proud of that. But we're going to give it a try and do a little
So,
bit.
Kevin,
Yes,
Kevin, I
sir.
have a question. What is the relationship between the five elements and traditional Chinese medicine?
Very good. And so, traditional Chinese medicine is actually, so if you've ever had acupuncture or taken Chinese herbs or seen a TCM, traditional Chinese medical doctor, if you've ever had your space feng shui, it is all using the five elements. And so another example might be using the fire water metaphor. Um, if you have hypertension or high blood pressure, which my grandmother did, her Chinese doctor would not say, oh, grandma, you have hypertension. She would not know what that meant. He would say, you have too much fire in your blood. It is burning too hot, right? That's high blood pressure. So we need to give you water-based herbs, meditations, acupuncture that will cool your blood down. We don't want to make it too cool because then you would get low blood pressure, but just find that right balance. Yeah. For those who suffer from gout, that's an excess of metal in your life. And so we would then use that. And so really the five elements can be applied in many different ways and forms. These elements have hundreds of different characteristics, from a color, a body part, a flavor, an emotion, a voice, to holler, to whisper, to laugh, to moan, um, uh, different types of language formations. Do we meet in a circle? Do we have a standing meeting? What Todd and I are going to go over with you are these particular life cycles that we experience with the five elements. Consolidation, which is associated with water, creation associated with wood, direction with fire, coordination with earth, and implementation with metal. So think, for example, in your own lives, a project that you're working on, or a function or a gathering that you are organizing, using the five elements in the circular formation or the supporting cycle. This is what this might look like. So we have a function that is going to happen. Well, actually, Todd and I are organizing a function that's happening at the end of this month, a large gathering that's a culmination of our studies together. I started in water and consolidation probably last September, October, right? Consolidation. What is the value of this? What is the purpose of this? What is the mission and meaning of this? I interviewed a bunch of people and said, what would you like to get out of this gathering? So I'm making sure that I'm anchored in the philosophy, in the values, and the organizing principles. And I'm really finding the right place, the right partners, etc. So we start with water, that deep place where we can listen to our own voices and listen to the voices of others so we can get clear and then develop a strategy whereby we can get that water to move. Then we go to creation. That notion of, and we've all been in those brainstorming sessions where we put flip chart paper on the wall, anything goes, any idea goes. What is the latest, greatest, most innovative way we can do this so we're not repeating, the same thing over and over again? That's this notion of creation, that notion of possibility, innovation, wonder, visioning and brainstorming, reaching for the sky. Of course, if we're a small group and we can't do it all, we don't have the resources, wood would move to fire. We would shed some light on all of these ideas, look at the pros and cons, and then prioritize it to the top 5. So we go from 114 ideas in creation to 5 in direction, right? We get our branding and messaging forward. We do the networking and collaboration. We put the word out there and say, this is what we are doing. Please come. And like that notion of a fire pit or a campfire, people might be attracted to that. You're walking down the beach and you see folks having a lovely time at a fire. You say, what is that? I'm going to step closer and see what that's about. And then you can decide if that's for me or not. That's what fire brings. From fire, we go to earth. We then begin to operationalize it all, right? And create the systems and relationships. So it's about, in our case, and this came around in probably January, February, uh, solidifying the venue, making sure that people are doing their travel and getting the program together, putting together all of the different packets and whatnot, making sure that we have the right people organizing and doing the right things to support our efforts. That's building the conditions by which we can thrive. And then we finally move to metal. I will have to say on May 7th, because our gathering is May 24th, we are in metal now. So my team and I are finalizing the menu and looking at the room list and making sure that people have what they need and putting out final things. We're rolling up our sleeves and making this happen, right? And then once it's done, come June 1st, we will then return to water. Ask ourselves, what was that, right? Give ourselves that pat on the back and congratulate each other. Take a spa day, but also look at the evaluations and see how can we, for next time, lift that up and then begin the cycle again. So we have consolidation in water, creation in wood, direction in fire, coordination in earth, and implementation in metal. Okay? Water, wood, fire, earth, metal, working in this cycle or formation. What I'd like to do is invite you to join us in an activity called Where Do You Stand? And we're actually going to give this a try. If you're still kind of pondering this, don't worry about it. Todd and I will be here to help guide you through this, but let's just take a moment and dive into the 5 elements and see where we stand. Todd, I'll hand this over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to be doing the technical apparatus for this exercise. Kevin's going to be doing the commentary for this exercise. First, I have to show you how we are going to do this. So you're all going to have access to your own 5-slide Where Do You Stand deck. And I'm going to show it to you now, and then I'm going to put the link in the chat. Actually, I'm going to show you now. When you get this link and you're going to land right here where I am, you're going to go to File and make a copy of the entire presentation. This is going to allow you to have your personalized set, so you won't be co-working with Rachel, Susan, Beth, Andy, and everyone else. That might be interesting, actually, to be co-working with everyone, but this is meant to be a solitary exercise that then we can move into a discussion, because insights come from the discussion. So,
Todd, would you also say the link in case somebody's listening and not looking at an email or something like that that has the link?
it's a pretty long link. This is,
Yeah, I guess it is, isn't
that's
it?
wrong. That's wrong. Nope, that's right.
Okay.
That's the right one.
So in
I
that
should see some other faces go up at the top. Yep. There's a buffalo and some other mammal. Okay, we've got the idea. So now I'm going to wait just a minute for you all to have access. Please make a copy by going up to file under where do you stand, and then you'll say, make a copy, entire presentation. Just like Auntie Pua had her 3 core questions, we are going to have 4 questions that we are going to answer in relation to where do you stand? It's actually kind of where do we stand and where do you stand? And the first one is state of the world. Anonymous Buffalo, make sure you make a copy, Anonymous Buffalo. For those of you listening after, that's the name of somebody who got on the Google slide. There's not an Anonymous Buffalo in this series. So I see state of the world is up here, and this is for me to click on and drag and to consider, is the state of the world in this consolidation phase, somewhere in between consolidation and creation, up in direction, or between creation and direction? You get the idea, down to coordination or implementation. As most things that are complex in our living world, it doesn't necessarily usually work that it goes right in the middle of consolidation. So just to give you an example, I am going to put the state of the world right here between consolidation and creation, a little bit closer to consolidation. But that's Todd. We all have valuable perspectives.
Is there
And it's the state
none of the above?
Yeah.
I would say for this activity, try to make a stand and note that this is a picture of a moment in time. So where you are right now at present. So try not to make it like this is going to be the concrete, this is my state of the world.
So this is where I am with the state of the world, or this is where I think the state of the world is?
Great question. Let's take it because we're gonna go to where do you stand. Let's talk about where you believe the state of the world is. So we're gonna start.
That's how I interpreted it.
So Todd,
What's
you placed it there. Can you just give one sentence of why you put it there? And
Thank you.
Consolidation is about philosophy, understanding, a sense of the coming together in consolidation is kind of a collective knowing where we're at. And creation, we're moving from a kind of shared philosophy into a vision. And there's a sense of possibility. There's a sense of there are places we can go. And the way that I see the world right now, we're kind of in between. There's not one single dominant philosophy right now, despite what you may read in the papers. There's a lot of philosophies, but I feel like there is some collectivity in the world right now. There is a sense of there's a philosophy, a organizing principles that a lot of people across cultures are saying this could happen. And the vision that exists there is pretty abstract. So I wouldn't put it right up to creation yet. Okay, that was a lot more than just a few sentences, but you get the idea.
I would
So
say
what if you didn't hold that view? What if your view is it's not quite so clear or clear like water? It's a little bit more chaotic. Would that be more closer to fire?
Exactly. And so, Susan, what I would say is, and this is where Antipua is coming back, go with your gut. So what is your gut saying? So if you're thinking, or I might think, the state of the world, the whole world's on fire, right? I would then just go straight there, right?
That's where I am.
Right. or the volcano has erupted and it's kind of like there's lava flowing all over and it's scorching the earth. I would put it somewhere between fire and earth, right? And so there is no right or wrong to this. Todd put it there. Pay no attention to Todd, or do, but don't let Todd influence where you want to place it.
That's right.
Place it there. Yeah. There is no right or wrong.
By the way, if I could interject to Beth's point, I went ahead and made a shorter URL. So if anybody happens to be listening in,
Ah,
you can go to bit.ly, bit.ly, bit.ly / gatherings stand.
Thank you.
Back
Andy,
to you.
you're a
Well
genius.
done, Andy. You
Thank
should
you.
be a tech entrepreneur or
I
something.
love Andy and his technical prowess.
Andy, can you please also drop that in the chat? I don't know if people will be able to see the chat if they're listening to the recording, but that would be helpful.
So I think this is a good time also for people to ask questions about the elements here. Any other questions that can help you place this first stance?
I don't have questions, but I'm really curious as to the different perspectives.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Todd, just transparent facilitation. Let's run through all four and then we'll do the
Yep.
announcement. Okay, great.
Okay, so if you all
Yeah.
move to slide number 2,
You take this.
now we're
brother.
moving
Yeah.
from, I went to the left-hand column and just went down to slide 2. Now you have a chance to go to state of my community.
However you define community. So it could be your geographic community where you call the place you call home. For me, that would be the San Francisco Bay Area. It could be your community of identity. So for me, I'm queer, where's my queer community? However you define it, this is yours. So what would be the state of your community? What phase or element would best describe where you are, where your community is at this moment? And note, it does not have to align with where you place the state of the world.
Okay, we're going to go on to question number 3. Where do you stand in terms of you? Where are you?
I'm sorry, I was moving my thing. Where am I with regard to which one?
Um,
For your life.
You.
yeah, what phase or life cycle or element best describes where you are right now? So I'm just going to interject for Todd. Todd is moving toward implementation. He's just like, I am ready to take action, right? I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and take action. Where Kevin might place himself between creation and direction. It's like, I'm still trying to figure out where I stand with this and what ideas I are, and what my priorities are. I'm just scattered. So, yeah, no right or wrong there.
We have one left, plus a bonus. The last one is where we need to be. What is needed right now? And think about beyond yourself, but include yourself.
My intention behind this question was us as our community. I count you all as a community of people who are interested, who meet every month and gather from around the world. Where do you think we as a group need to be? What phase or element? Hmm.
Okay, so for the last slide, it is your chance to synthesize your own work. You will see that all 4 of them are right here, and you can go back and look to see where you put them, or perhaps you'll remember. The idea is to give you a chance to see all 4. I'm going to type my name up here. I'm going to give you a chance to place them all 4, and then we'll be able to talk about it and see the relationship between them.
I'm a little slow with this. I'm having trouble with grabbing things.
Hey, Todd,
Yes.
technology question. Is it possible for you to give me access to this deck that you're showing right now?
To
It's in
my
the Google
actual
file.
one,
Yeah, to your Google Doc.
just go directly to the link in the chat and that'll take you there.
Thank you.
Todd, I'm wondering if you could just briefly go back to consolidation and creation, the original slides. It's helping me to look at those, and I took screenshots of the other ones, but not those two.
Yes, I can do
Oh,
that.
thank you, Kevin.
I have, so we're gonna stop share Todd and then go to consolidation and creation. Apologies for the, there's consolidation.
Great, got it. Thank you.
Welcome, and let me find creation.
Oops.
Sorry. There's creation.
Much appreciated.
Yeah,
Got it.
creation is about wood, sort of reaching for the skies. Springtime, where we are now, growth and abundance, and everything's coming up, and all of that. And so, isn't it lovely? And if you have allergies, it's really not quite so lovely because it's congested. So sometimes the creation in wood has the capacity to overwhelm.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah.
Mm.
Could you also just quickly go through the fire, the rest of the circle, because that would
Of
probably
course.
be helpful.
Of course. Let's see here. I'm gonna just bring this one slide up here.
Just for a quick view.
There we go. I'll bring up, I'll just do this. So starting with water consolidation, it's about really anchoring ourselves on our mission, our purpose, our values. Why are we doing this? Are we aligned with the data? We'll do a deep dive in the data and make sure that, whatever the project that we're planning or the event that we're doing is really there. And then we go to creation. Water feeds wood. And so now that we're anchored in that mission and values, what are some really wonderful, exciting new ways? How many ways can we do this, right? And so that's that notion of where we are right now, at least here in the Bay Area in California. Spring is blooming. Yeah. We've come out of that dormancy and we're looking at all different possibilities. We move then from creation to direction to fire, which is we are only a small group of people. We can't do it all. We don't have the resources. And so like creation, like we weed our garden, right? We pull out the things that aren't useful to us and then really cultivate and focus on the things that are. So our resources are going toward that. So what are the 3 things we must do versus the 100 things that we can do or we'd like to do, right? That's that fire and direction. And it's really about putting our story out there. So we are attracting other people and bringing that forth. That comes to this notion of May, June, July. Then we come to Earth coordination, the harvest, right? And so that's where we're creating the conditions for the harvest to happen. Focusing on relationships, focusing on operations, focusing on logistics, focusing on all of that. In an organizational perspective, that would be like, what are our policies, procedures, guidelines, and norms? How do we set things up, right? To move toward implementation, which is metal, we finally get to do the work, right? And that's what that looks like. And if we do that well, then we move over into water consolidation. Okay. Todd, would it be helpful for me to go through an example of what happens if you skip a step?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about what happens if we skip over a step. So we are a group, right, that is organizing something. We're really anchored in our mission and purpose. We've done the data analysis and we're good. We've come up with 112 different ways to do it, but we did not go up and over to fire. We're just going directly to earth. Remember, wood depletes the nutrients from the earth. So it's like, great, let's get to work, let's get organized, let's put our systems together and all of that. Now we are a group of 8 people acting on 114 different ideas because we went directly from wood to earth. Make sense?
Yeah.
Hit this step, and we didn't go up and over to prioritize, and we'll find ourselves depleting. As if we plant too many things in the earth will go fallow, right? Over time, we're depleting our resources, human, financial, operational, and we will just, we'll be wiped out. um and so it's important not to skip the steps. If we went from, let's just say we went from water to wood to fire, and said, okay, we've got our priorities, let's just do it. And we dropped straight into metal without having the relationships, right? Without having the infrastructure, without having all of this. I just wrote a piece on the president's first 100 days, and my analysis was a strategy of slash and burn, which is too much fire and too much metal. So all of this, like, look at what I'm doing, and aren't I great? And all these executive orders, he's just throwing a whole bunch of fires out there in a whole bunch of different things, hoping that something, is going to stick. But there is no relationship, no experience, no grounding, no infrastructure there. And I'm expecting, as fire melts metal, and it's happening now, a big meltdown, because there's nothing to hold it together. Yeah. So from my analysis of what's happening, it's a very fire to metal dynamic that we're experiencing right now. So I'll put that article in the chat so you can read it. Is that helpful, folks?
Yes.
Great. So Todd, shall we do a little bit of an analysis?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to just call on somebody. So, Julie, in terms of the state of the world, where did you place us?
I was actually pretty close to Todd between consolidation and creation. I feel like there's some vision, but we're not very far through it. It's not all crisp and like ready to build something on.
Very good. And so we're looking at this notion of the state of the world right here, between water and wood. So for me, the interesting thing is, you have an idea of where we are when we're in the element, but I think the dynamic happens when we're moving from one element to the other, right? And so for you, Julie, and I have this written in the book, it's the two dynamics that will happen as you're moving from consolidation, creation, water to wood, are understanding and dissipation. Understanding and dissipation. Understanding could look like this. Great, we're anchored in our mission and this and that. And now I have a greater understanding of what ideas we can cultivate and who we need to bring in, what seeds we need to germinate in order to create something that's really dynamic, interesting, fun, joy-filled, a result around that. Dissipation is, you know what? Now that we're clear, I don't think I need to be a part of this. I wish you well, I'm just done, right? Or it's like, we're never working with those people again. That's dissipation. Yeah. And so for you, Julie, to think about the state of the world, is it a place of we're gathering a deeper understanding so then we can come up with some positive solutions to this? Or it's like, I give up, I'm moving out, I'm going underground, I am done, right? And so it's important for us to understand where we're standing on that, the more generative side or the more shadow side. And if you are in community, Julie and Todd, you would look at each other and say, where are we, right? And if you're more on the dissipation side, what do you need to move over to a place of understanding? Yeah. How can we support you in bringing you over to this side? Okay. And you might notice that in your communities where people are just like completely shutting out, right? And that's not going to be helpful or healthy. They're dissipating, right? They're disappearing. And so how can we get them to a place of understanding is the big question for us as those who want to stand in the center and bridge. Thank you. I hope that's helpful. Let's go to the next question. Todd, I can't see folks. Can you call on somebody and see if they had a different perspective on the state of their community?
Briefly, I just pulled up those transitions that Kevin was talking about. Are those visible to you, Kevin?
I can see them.
Okay, as long as folks can see them, that's great.
Okay. Let's go to Rachel.
Okay. So for the state of my community, I put it really, let me share. I put it between creation and direction.
Rachel, can you give me a sentence, Rachel, on why you put your community there and how you define your community?
Yes. Um, I guess I was thinking mostly about like activist communities
Hmm.
that I'm part of in this question.
Hmm.
And feels like there's always these ideas bubbling up. Um,
Yep.
but the fire of deciding which direction,
Yes.
which greatly, yes,
Yeah.
depends on many things, including leadership.
This is a hard one because you notice that, oh, continue to share, please.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'll refer to that deck.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Rachel. So you notice this is, if you're thinking of us on a roller coaster, we're clicking up, click, click, click. It's that upward, we're almost there. It takes a lot of energy to go from wood to fire. And the result is what we in Chinese medical practice call porcupine chi. So chi is energy, and you think of a porcupine, it's sort of like we can do this and this and this and this and this and this, and it's like it's all good, and we're just scattered. And so thinking of you, Rachel, I'm kind of putting some words in your mouth. The activist community is just scattered because there's so many, like, do we focus on immigration or trans rights or women's rights or the environment, or what do we focus on? We're doing this and this, and we're trying to address it all at once. The dynamic, as we were looking at understanding and dissipation earlier, the dynamic that Julie was experiencing, the dynamic for you, Rachel, is liberation or loss. Liberation or loss. And it looks like this, right? Thank goodness we're trying to get ourselves focused and not try to do 1,000 things. I feel freed up because I was getting so lost in the weeds. That liberates my thinking to really be creative. Or loss looks like this. My idea was I don't know, trans rights, right? And if we're not going to go with that, I'm going to dig in and not play. I'm taking my toys elsewhere, right? That's about loss and grief. And I think that's the tension that you might be feeling in your community is there's so many things to do and so many things to address. And how do you, as a bridger, bring all that together without having people feel that sense of loss? Yeah.
And sometimes the loss isn't bad because we can't all do
You can't
everything
do it
anyway.
all. You can't do it all. Exactly. Exactly. But and so that notion of cutting your losses, right? But within that grief, this is where grief shows up, right? This is how grief shows up, and grief shows up in so many different ways and cycles for different people. But this is that grief cycle that really shows up, and it takes so much energy to kind of tick up from that 9 o'clock to the 12 o'clock. If you were looking at a clock, right? It just takes a lot of energy, and it's often energy that you don't see. It's not apparent. It's all under the surface work that you have to do. So that's where, Rachel, you put your community. Thank you.
Thank
Todd,
you.
go ahead and choose someone else for where do you place you?
John, were you willing to
John.
share where you placed yourself?
Well, let's see. I'm more in touch right now with where I placed the world, which was square in the middle of on fire. So let's see about where I am. I put myself between fire and earth.
Fire and earth. Great. Todd, why don't you bring up yours and just move that corresponding slide to fire and earth. This is great. You're all just moving around the circle. So I appreciate that. So John, you placed yourself between fire and earth, direction and coordination. Can you give us a sentence on why you placed yourself there? This is where I, John, stand.
Because my life is uh, needing to be recreated from the ashes.
Mm. John, you're a poet as well, I understand. So, uh, um, This is great. So this notion of direction, right? You are seeing the world clearly for what it is and what it's presenting. And part of moving from direction to coordination, fire to earth, is determining, where do I fit in? Where do I stand? What is my role and responsibility in this? And who are my people in the midst of that? The dynamic as you move from fire direction to coordination earth is confidence and apprehension. Confidence and apprehension. And it looks and feels like this. In fire, it's like, from an organizational perspective, we might have got the funding, right? And we got the community support and our, the announcement in the website and all of that. Yay, coming up, all of this stuff, right? And you, John, might be saying, this is great. We have the affirmation. I know where I stand, and I feel confident that I will find my community, that I will find my place, and I will find my role. Let's go. Let's step off the pathway and go, right? Like that roller coaster, you move. Apprehension is this. I don't know what my role is, or I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to step off that cliff, So maybe I need to go back to creation. And you're holding on for dear life as the roller coaster is ready to go. You're holding on for dear life, trying to slow down the process because you're not ready. Yeah, you're not confident in either yourself, your community, your others, right? That you will be safe as you step off that precipice. So my question to you, John, and you don't have to answer it in front of everybody in the world, is, are you feeling more confident about where you are and where you're headed and what your role is? Or are you feeling more apprehensive? And if you are feeling apprehensive, what do you need in order to move toward confidence, right? I was working with a department at a state university in Colorado a few weeks ago, and there were a lot of people in that place where you were, John. And so I was asking people, what do you need? And it's like, I just need my director to explain what my role is or where we are. They did it in 5 minutes, and everybody's like, okay, we're clear, we're confident. So it could be that easy of a fix, right? Or it could be, we need to go all the way back to our values, go back to water, and make sure we're clearly anchored. But posing that question, what do you need right now to feel confident about where we're headed, would be that key question for you, John. Make sense?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Todd, last one.
Last one. I would love to hear from Beth.
And which aspect do you want me to share?
It is, where do we as a movement or as a group of bridge
For the
builders?
gathering, yeah, for the gathering. I put us between coordination and implementation.
Coordination and implementation. Wow. Okay, Todd, can you just articulate that, please, on the slide?
I'm gonna.
You all, I mean, you couldn't have planned it better because
I
you
know
went
we're getting all
one to
the
the other to
examples.
the other. So I'm going to take you on the road with me. There you go. So where we need to be, a quick sentence on why you put us as a movement, as a group of bridge builders there, Beth.
Well, we've done a lot of work over the years around purpose and, creating and sort of letting go of some things and focusing more on others. And I feel like where we're haven't been as successful is in sort of the
Okay.
community building and implementation. So
Gotcha. I mean, you all are an impressive bunch of people, who some of you have been doing this for over 10 years, and the amount of wisdom that you have within this. You have built community. You have tilled the soil. You have prepared yourself for such a time as this, and that time is now, right? It's time to roll up our sleeves and do something. And that's that notion of coordination to implementation. That's where you're saying we are, Beth. The dynamics between coordination and implementation are relief and distress. Relief and distress. Relief looks like this, right? Thank goodness we are ready. We've been prepping for this moment in time. Let's roll up our sleeves and let's get to work, whatever that is. Hit the streets, serve meals, organize. We have that sense of abundance, that sense of enough. We have the resources because we spent years doing this, and we can do it on a global scale. I am so relieved that we have the infrastructure and the relationships, the grounding to do this, right? Distressed is, forgive my language, shit, we got to do it. Are we ready? Are we going to die in the process? Yeah. Do we have enough there? Can I trust my people? Can I trust that, right? All of that, right? It's distress. And so, Beth, my question to you is, do you feel like we, as a group of bridge builders, this particular group, it's a place of relief. We've been talking about these moments for years and years and done some good things. Now it's the time to all of us to roll up our sleeves, organize, and go. Right? Ready, get set, go. We're at go. Or is it distress? Oh my gosh, we're not quite ready. Yeah.
I think
So
I think it's both. And I think the feeling of distress for me, at least, is around, we have been doing it for a long time, and are we actually moving toward consolidation again and water again? And
moving too fast through. Yeah.
well, I guess for me, it's like, okay, well, implementation, but if we're going to put a lot of energy into implementation, are we now sure that all the places we've been before are still the places we want to be, or do we want to kind of start thinking about the purpose and that again? And so
Mhm.
for me, there's this tension between implementing from where we are, which we absolutely could do,
Yes.
and okay, well, since we're sort of we got Todd and the times are what they are, should we not put a whole ton of work into implementing from where we are, but actually start to think about water again?
Great.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Thank you.
So,
Yes,
Beth,
Todd.
you've also managed to bring in the last set of transitions here on the sustaining cycle.
Yay, Beth!
Um,
Yeah.
and this one is a tough one between metal and water.
Right.
Mhm.
Because the metal mode is go, 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 do, do, do. And it's actually hard to step back and say, wait, what are we doing and why? The why question is really big. Um, can we remove ourselves from the doing enough? And the competition that there is when it's like we can't stop what we're doing and we know we need to step back and it becomes competitive as a like set of actions and ideas versus the integration is we have a sense that we are both continuing to do and we are able to seamlessly take stock, assess where we're at, get to is anything in our philosophy need to be adapted or changed. And I've found with teams this place between metal and water is where stuckness happens the most.
Mhm. I call this the 26th mile of the marathon. You've worked your way all the way around and you're exhausted by the time you get here. And you can get like that, that little toy, the balls that go click, 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 click. You lose the momentum and you're just kind of going like this. And what you have to do is pull back into earth, right? Draw upon your resources, especially your relationships, to kind of get you back up and over. Otherwise, you're just going to stay sort of like this, you know. And that's a tough place to be. Yeah, because you experience stasis here. Okay. So this is, and Todd and I just took you through, I mean, it took Todd probably, we didn't get to month 8 before I revealed this in his training program. So, kudos to you all and those who are listening to get to this. But understanding, I think at the end that there are 5 elements and 5 life cycles that correspond to that. Really, our work is to go in, whether it's for ourselves or for a group of people, to determine which elements are present or in excess, which are not, and then understand the dynamics, understanding dissipation, liberation, loss, etc., within that to reach solutions. I'm going to give you, now we're going to go to the 301 graduate level because there are also dynamics going between water and fire, or fire and metal, focus and meltdown, etc. In my book, I think it's chapter 16, it focuses on this, and it's called Transforming Conflict, because the conflict often happens when we're working in the restraining cycle. And we didn't bring that in today for purposes of not overwhelming you, but just note that, there are up to these 20 different pieces. And then you can use these different questions. Where are we in the state of the world, state of your community, where I am, or where we need to be, as a means to see where people stand. So Susan, I'm seeing you. You could take this into your community or your organization or your family and do this and see where the analysis is, right? And that's where Todd was saying, if we did all of us, it's a collective, what would that look and feel like in terms of who's standing with me, who's standing on the opposite side, where are the tensions and considerations that we need to play that need, make sense? Good. Todd, Andy, I'm gonna just see if you want to pose for any questions, and I've got two closing slides that I just want to bring up, and then we can.
What we have left is warming hands, poem, 2 slides, and extinguishing the fire.
Okay.
So we probably have time for a question, or 2 if it's a simple question. But I'm guessing this group is not going to surface simple questions.
Well, I have one simple question. Can you put out a link where we can get your book?
Yes, that's embedded in a slide, and you can do that little QR code with it. So get your phones ready. I can do that. Actually, why don't I do that now, Todd, and then we can. So, another way that we can look at this is, so we looked at it from sort of an organizing perspective, but we've also created a way that you can calculate your own personal 5 elements profile. And so go to this QR code and you'll come up with a 5 elements calculator. It'll take you right there. You enter the information in, and in about 4 seconds, you will it will reveal your 5 elements profile and explain it to you. If you wish, you can drop me an email, or drop your profile name and email in the chat, and I'll send you a 10-page personalized assessment afterwards. So, but this is just another way in which we can make this happen. To those of you who are listening to this recording, that stands as well. So if you're listening to this 2 weeks from now, just log into the QR code, determine your 5 elements profile, and email me and say, you reached it through this particular gathering and you'd like your 5 elements assessment. Todd, any commentary on this?
My 5 elements.life, it's the number 5, so NY number 5 elements.life for the listeners.
Yeah.
So I want to say too, that in the post-call email, will we have this QR code available?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just a quick review of what we've done in this short time, just practices to take forward. Starting any gathering with music and poetry. I love bringing beauty into our work. Your fire starter, just to warm our hands or get ourselves grounded in breath, in body, and ancestors, was incredible. Bringing in the 5 elements to navigate change and see where you stand, and the whole notion of Professor Powell's piece around, are we going to choose a path of breaking or bridging? I'll send you some follow-up references and materials. My mentor, Grace Lee Boggs, always said, never leave a gathering without giving some book recommendations. So if you wish, you can take a quick picture. These are some books that I have on my bookshelf. John's latest book, Belonging Without Othering, Grace's book, Grace Lee Boggs's book, The Next American Revolution, my dear friend Valerie Kaur wrote See Nor Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love. And then you have my book as well.
And those will be in the post.
Kevin?
I'll email if you're listening.
Yeah, I'll put
Yeah.
the
Well,
podcast in as well.
yeah.
And here's the QR code for you to stay connected. So it has a whole list of resources that I offer. Subscribing to my newsletter, and I'll send you my latest article on the first 100 days and that whole slash and burn fire to metal. I also post on social media somewhat regularly. And contact me if you'd like to bring the 5 elements to your community organization. You know somebody. Has all of my contact information here. Lastly, I'll say, and I know you all do this, to respect the lineage and respect the work. This takes training and practice. And what I caution people is to say, oh, well, I took this great thing and I'm going to take it into my community and train them on this. The concern is
Don't do
that,
that.
yep, you could do more harm than good. And we want to make sure that you're doing good in the community. So make sure you contact Todd or me before you say, I want to try this out, and we'll guide and help you through that. I think that's all I've got. So
Thank you, Kevin.
just thank you all very much.
We still want you to close with warming hands in a minute here, but first I want to talk about next month's gathering. We will have another community circle, so no speakers for June, other than all of you speaking to one another. We will have a slightly different circle experience than what some of you enjoyed in February, and turning it to Andy.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Kevin, and everybody. We co-created this gathering as we always do. So now I invite you to close your eyes, and with your inner eye, again, see the side of our hearth and the campfire, and know that this fire is yours to use and to share today and always. Auntie Puanani extends her hand, and with a force unseen, gently diminishes the flame until it is extinguished. Hear the cracking of the wood and the simmering steam as our fire transitions to a new state of being, awaiting our gathering together next month. Now open your eyes and come back to be with us as we close our call. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Just take your hands and bring them together like this. I call it warming hands. Get your hands nice and warm, and on the count of 3, place one hand on your heart and one over your belly. So it will look like this or this. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hand on your heart and belly. Close your eyes or bring them to a resting gaze. Taking a few deep breaths as I read this poem by my dear friend Taj James. The whole universe conspired with everything it has, with everything it is, for you to be here, for me to be here, for us to be together in this now. Your existence, presence, and light reshapes all that has been, transforms all that will be. Let the light out, let it shine. It is all that we are. If we only knew how profoundly we matter, how important our every decision. If we could only remember how inescapably we belong. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, just come on back into the room, shake it out.
I don't want to.
Let's thank you all very much. I wish you a lovely day, evening ahead.
Kevin, you are welcome to stay for the after party too.
Yeah,
Even
I'm
though
gonna hang out. I'm gonna refill my water and hang out with y'all.